All right. Marvin, can you hear us?
Yes, sir, I'm waiting on you.
Okay. Well, I won't make you wait any longer. Go ahead and call to order the pre-agenda meeting for Tuesday, January the 18th, 2022 of the Idle County Board of Commissioners. And we'll jump right to any adjustments to the agenda.
No adjustments that I'm aware of, Chairman Mallory.
Okay. Any unfinished business or new business anticipated by any commissioners? Gene, are you going to say something for the recognition of our public servants over this last weekend?
Yes, I can do that, or Scotty, either way.
You're good at that.
Okay.
You need the votes, I don't.
Under new business?
Yeah, new business.
Okay. I'll give a quick update on our COVID numbers at the same time, or before or after, whatever. All right, we can jump right to the administrative matters that I think the staff has been told to hit the road and to pass the torch to Beth to carry it around the track,
Yes.
ever how many laps you have.
Absolutely. Yes, sir, I've told staff to go ahead and get home. With the dropping temperatures tonight, I'm going to present on behalf. So I'm going to, those that are watching, and I'm sure they all are, to make sure I don't mess up their agenda item. If I do, I apologize. So the first item is a request from the Department of Social Services for approval of budget amendment number 30 to advance county funds for pandemic low-income home energy assistance or LEAP program or payments. And this is the amount of $635,331. And they are using ARPA funds for this. And so this is a budget amendment to basically put the funds in the budget so they can go ahead and start dispersing the funds. So one thing that they're doing as far as automatic, those that qualified last year and they used CARES Act funds for those payments last year, they're using ARPA this year. So those that qualified last year, those will qualify again this year for those funds. And this is the budget amendment for that.
Any questions or comments?
No.
Consent?
Consent.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is a request from the library for approval of budget amendment number 31 and to accept a LSTA Laundromat Family Literacy Grant Center in the amount of $5,000. And if you remember, Julie came to the board and talked about this grant. They have received it, and this grant will actually allow the library to go into our laundromats and put up book stands and make books available to children that may be coming with their parents as they go to the laundromats to do their laundry. So they'll have some materials to read. So it's in the amount of $5,000.
How many laundromats will they go?
I do not have, I knew somebody would ask me a question. I don't have the number of laundromats that they'll be providing those books for. I don't have that number.
As far as $5,000 will go.
As far as $5,000 will go, but I can get that number of the laundromats that will be served with this grant. I'll get that for you tomorrow.
Thank you. Consent?
Consent.
Thank you. Mr. Norman?
Thank you. The next item is a request from the library to apply for an LSTA Adapting Technology Grant from the State Library of North Carolina. And this grant that they're looking to apply for is $10,250. And what they want to do is use this grant to purchase furniture to convert the upper level conference room at the library into a dedicated computer lab. It will also provide workstations to place public computers in the local history room, provide workstations for the visual enhanced public computers, and provide additional study carrels throughout the library. This grant does not require any matching funds. And with what we're doing as far as digitizing materials in our local history room, this will put some PCs there where people can go there and search those materials electronically. And what we're trying to do is make the electronic materials that we have more accessible to the public by putting in workstations and labs.
Okay, any questions? Consent?
Consent.
Consent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is a request from the Finance Department for approval to purchase a Caterpillar 725 articulating water truck for solid waste. This is something we had a truck that was in the 2022 budget for solid waste to purchase, and it was a dump truck. It was an articulating dump truck. And what solid waste is requesting is, instead of purchasing that piece of apparatus, they would like to change that and purchase this articulating water truck. And a part of our air quality permit is that we're required and obligated to control dust. We have also had some leaf pile fires and things at our solid waste facility recently. And this articulating truck water truck will actually allow them to address those issues easier. And what they've identified is this is a higher place need than the dump truck is. So they'd like to defer the purchase of the dump truck and request the commissioners to approve them to use the already budgeted funds on the articulating water truck instead. And the cost is not to exceed $494,693. And again, those funds are already budgeted. They're just switching what they want to purchase. The other part of this is North Carolina General Statute allows us to waive the bid requirements as long as we're purchasing off of, it used to be called state contract, but it's through the group purchasing program. And basically that's where the state goes ahead and negotiates the lowest price for various goods. And if we can purchase through that collaborative, then we don't have to go through the bid process. This is actually on that list, and we've given you all the information on the articulating water truck, and it's to purchase it through CAT, which is on the state's bid list.
How much is the articulated water truck?
The not to exceed, and the bids here, it's a not to exceed of $494, $693.
I just wondered because they need that dump truck too. Do they have the money for both, or you won't look at another budget year?
They're going to look at that at another budget year. They feel like they can defer the dump truck because they need the water truck more. It's
Yeah, right.
a higher need.
I just knew they needed both.
Yeah.
If they had it, I just didn't know what your game plan was.
It may be something that they may come in this upcoming year to request.
Since it has anything to do with, air quality, that does not qualify us for any of the ARPA stuff, does it?
No.
Any potential of a waiver, or we just have that one that you just sent us in the update?
It's just that one, and we'll be using that for the simulcast project.
Okay.
Is there any left over from that 10? Because we were looking at 8.
Thought it went up to 9.
We're looking at about 9.
Okay.
So I would hate to go ahead and obligate not knowing what the final cost on that project is.
Okay, but we can put that in, a placeholder for something.
Yeah. I will say that the solid waste department is an enterprise.
Right.
So, and they do have fund balance where they could pull some funds from. So I do feel
That's just what I
comfortable.
was asking. If they needed both and they had the money, should we go ahead and approve that, or you hadn't talked about that?
We haven't talked about that. Right now, we've talked about that they can defer the dump truck and they need the articulating water truck. So that's kind of been their highest priority item. But we will talk to them to see if they do need the dump truck. It's budget time where they're starting to form the request, and we'll let them know if that's a need to place that in the budget request for this upcoming year.
All right. Any additional comments or questions? Consent?
Consent.
Consent.
Thank you.
The next item is a request from the Finance Department to acknowledge the stewardship, compliance, and accountability note included in the past year audit. In your book is a letter that we have written on behalf of the full board, and every commissioner needs to sign this letter. And let me kind of explain what has happened. And Amy has the original for everybody to sign. When we received our audit, our last meeting, there was, and we noted that there was a deficit amount. And it was because we had advanced funds to Iredell Statesville Schools for the bond project. The bonds were approved, but the bonds have not sold yet. We don't anticipating selling those bonds until fall of 2022. But they have already started the design process, and so we asked our accountants, our auditors, how best to do this, and they recommended that we go ahead and advance the funds for the architectural services and fees to go ahead and design the high school. And then when the bonds sell, we repay ourselves. And we've done that in years prior. But this year, it came up on our audit because we advanced the funds and we haven't sold the bonds yet. Normally, we advance the funds and the bonds are sold and it's all in the same fiscal year and it washes. But because the bonds have taken longer, the project's taking longer, and we've crossed from one fiscal year to another, and we've had an audit in between, we've been noted with this deficit. Again, it is not a deficit. It is where we advanced funds and we have not sold the bonds yet to repay those funds. I will say that this was something that we were not very happy about. We followed the advice of our auditors in doing this. So we will do it differently next time. If we cross this bridge and have to do this again, we will certainly do it differently, because we are very proud of the work that we do, and having to write something like this was not fun for us. Again, and I can read the letter into the record if the board would like, but it says that we have respectively reviewed the stewardship, compliance, and accountability note and fiscal performance indicators of concern presented to the Iredell County Board of Commissioners by Cassie Wilson of Martin Starnes and Associates CPA on December 7th, 2021. Our response is as follows. The deficit fund balance in the Iredell Statesville High School project of $507,595 is due to money forwarded to the Iredell Statesville school system to begin the project prior to the sale of authorized bonds under direction from our auditing firm. These bonds are scheduled to be sold in the fall of 2022 and will eliminate the deficit fund balance. And then it goes on to say if there's any questions to contact Deb Cheek, Finance Director, or myself, County Manager. So that's the letter. We did want to explain this to the board, see if you had any questions, and each one of us will sign this and send this to LGC. Any questions regarding this?
I think it's all a washout. The problem is what you're gonna come in is whenever somebody looks at it and asks questions, and that's gonna come back on you.
Correct.
So, but you know, it happens and it's gonna happen. I don't think we can ever say it's never gonna happen again.
And we do this all the time.
Right.
The problem is typically we go ahead and advance the funds, the project starts, the bonds are sold, it's taken care of. This process has been a longer process than we've normally had.
There'll probably be an article in Statesville Free News next week.
Possibly.
Things haven't actually been normal enough
No.
where the whole process on everything,
Right.
it's just drawn out. So
You know,
it's unfortunate.
we've actually collected revenues. Or more than enough to cover this.
Correct.
So it's there.
Yes.
It's just in a different silo. And
Yeah.
so people need to understand that, no, we just didn't go into our overdraft protection. This is dollars that we've collected that that in order for Iredell Statesville to move forward on the design process to sell the bonds, I think just the fact that across the fiscal year is what has created this conundrum.
Right.
But it
That
would
we
be
had
helpful to, have a formula, if you will, for the future that's quote-unquote approved, doesn't create the question of an auditor in the process.
Well, but that wasn't the issue, because we did exactly what our auditors told us to do. We did exactly what our auditors told us to do. This was their advice on how to go ahead and get Iredell Statesville Schools the money to pay for architectural fees. This was exactly what they advised us to do.
Well, you should-
However, it did result in that note on our audit, and it did result in us having to write this letter explaining. Again, it's not that the funds were not there to pay for it. It was not that, it was for no negative reason whatsoever. It's just a timing issue that we went ahead and advanced the funds so Iredell Statesville could go ahead and get started, and the bonds have not sold yet. That's the only issue, and we followed the advice of our auditors as far as how to do it.
Well, if there's another way to do it that achieves the same result, but without the question from some other audit, I mean, what auditor was it?
Martin and Starnes,
So the same folks that
yes, that we
said to
use
do it
every
this
year.
way, then
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
that seems a little odd.
well, no, I mean, to them, they didn't think we would mind writing this letter. They didn't think it, to them, this is just the normal course of business. We didn't know we were going to have to write this letter. So our CP and our auditors were very aware that this is the process we would have to follow. We didn't know we were going to have to write this letter.
Well-
We weren't very happy about it. So we let them know, this is a big deal. We don't want to write this letter. We're not happy about this. So next time we cross this bridge, we'll do it differently, because we didn't know we would have to do this.
So that was the crux of my question, which is, okay, the next time we
Yes.
cross this bridge, well, let's figure out what we're going to do the next time.
We
Just so
definitely
it's in
will.
the hip pocket if it happens.
Correct.
Okay, good deal.
You just shoot, everybody may want it, but Melissa and I, for our task force into schools, just a minor explanation.
It's in your packet. The letter and everything's in your packet.
Okay.
Consent?
Consent.
And Amy has the letter for everybody to sign before you leave this evening, if that's okay. Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Marvin.
Newman. The next item is a request from administration for approval of the departmental strategic goals. All of our commissioners have sat through your various task forces and listened to the presentation from our county departments regarding their strategic goals. We have listed, and in your packet are all the strategic goals from each department, and they have already been vetted and reviewed by the respective task force. A lot of these goals, quite frankly, are continuations from previous goals because of COVID. And quite frankly, COVID derailed our normal pathway forward. We all kind of had to do a little bit of shifting, changing, and adjusting as a result of COVID. I will say that I'm very, very proud of a lot of our departments, because in spite of COVID, they were still able to move forward their strategic goals, and I'm so very proud of them for that. They may not have had the numbers and the results that they wanted, because we had, we were, seeing people virtually and doing things like that, but they really did a wonderful job continuing to keep their eye on the ball in the future moving forward. But what you will see in these goals is a lot of them are continuations from prior year, but then you'll also see some new ones as well. And COVID taught us a lot over the last year, so you'll see departments saying, hey, I found a way that I can serve the public in a different way. And I want to make sure that I capitalize on that additional way to serve the public as well. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding those goals. But we would like the board's blanket approval for these, because this ties into the budget that the department directors will be working on to prepare.
I just had a few small questions, and I can defer them to just share with staff for an explanation, or I can go through them right now, just a couple.
Okay?
under the strategic goals for the information technology services, there's a create an ongoing IT security program. There's a performance measure that talks about implementing a mobile device management program and a mobile device management policy. And it's got a graduated goal, 40% FY21, 75% 22, 100% in 23. Same kind of graduated thing in the policy. I'm just curious, you're designing a program and a policy, can't you just do it once? Why does it take 3 years, or does every single department have a separate policy and program that has to be developed?
This is a little different. Everybody falls under the same mobile device program and policy that has, these are like laptops, county-issued cell phones, things of that nature. So implementing the policy and program and making adjustments to that specific to, and I'll give a great example, and I'm not picking on law enforcement or the sheriff's office at all. But for example, our sheriff's office, our mobile data terminals that are in our deputies' vehicles, they're part of this policy. As we put out the policy, we may think that we have everything covered, but for example, if the computer is left unattended for 15, 20 minutes, what it'll do is it'll lock out to avoid somebody else getting access to that computer and getting to that sensitive information. Well, maybe that's a good time frame for somebody that's in the office, but maybe it's not a reasonable time frame for someone that's in the vehicle, because by the time they get out, they talk to that individual, they get back to their car, they're trying to get things done quickly. I mean, different situations. So what we do is we put it out there, and then we continue to try to make amendments and changes and adjustments to it as each department implements and says, okay, that's not working for us, we need to make some tweaks and changes. The other piece is we're slowly rolling this out, because also what it does, for example, if somebody has a laptop, and I'm going to, public health, for example, if they have a laptop and that laptop is stolen, somebody takes the laptop off a desk and walks out with it or something like that, what this program allows us to do is as soon as it's reported missing, we can shut it down. You can't even power it up. So it gives that ability to do that. But in order to put that program in place, we'll have to make sure we get it loaded to that laptop. We know what the information's on that laptop, things of that nature. So we'll be implementing this departments at a time. We don't do it across all 26 different departments. We'll do it a department at a time, get them up and going, make sure there's no bugs or kinks, and then we'll go to the next one. So that's where you see the incremental 40% this year, 70% the next year, as we continue to roll this out to throughout our 26 different departments. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I understand the implementation process, and I understand the, the adjustment to the policy based on unique needs and all of different departments, and even different divisions within those departments. It's just, maybe it's in how it's expressed. I mean, the overarching policy is developed once, and then
Correct.
it's modified as needed.
Right.
So I would suggest that if you're going to create a mobile device policy, that doesn't take, you don't do half of it one year and half of it the next year. You do all of it when you hand it out, and then you adjust as you go down the road. Very minor quibble to me.
Okay. We can make some adjustments to that.
But, and the same kind of thing with the migration to the .gov domain. You build a new .gov domain. Now, this may be different, but it seems like you build it and then you migrate. The migration is sequential and incremental.
Correct.
Building it is a one-time deal. You may adjust it down the road, but unless the building process is going to bleed over 2 different fiscal years. Once it's done, you know. And on vehicle services, just a note, there's a reduce cost of repairs and downtime, and do that through training of the departments. It says percentage of departments with vehicles that have been trained. And so it's a new goal, or it was, and 2020's actual was 25%, 21 actual is 50%, 22 is estimated at 75. My question is, if you're looking at, there's a considerable disparity between different departments in terms of number of vehicles. So it would be helpful, I think, if we knew, well, how many vehicles are there? And, you know, you may have 50% of the departments covered that have a small number of vehicles, or they may have a large portion of vehicles, like the sheriff's department, for instance. So I guess I'd like to know how many actual vehicles are we taking care of? If you're going to measure it by department, it seems like you ought to take the departments that have the most vehicles first, so you can get the most bang for the buck. That's my point.
Okay.
So that was it there. No, I didn't have any other questions.
Okay. Any other questions on the goals?
Any questions, Marvin?
No?
Okay, well, I don't know where Commissioner Howe had a call, I guess.
Commissioner Halp is consent, he let me know.
Pardon?
Commissioner Halp is consent, he let me know.
Okay. All right, consent?
Consent.
Okay. And I do want to thank the staff, Carolyn, yourself, Susan, Joe, everybody that worked with the departments. It's always it's great to see the thought process that goes into selecting the kind of things that they want to do that are not just taking care of business, but thinking outside the box and stretching themselves and stretching our dollars to deliver more services more efficiently and cost effectively. So kudos to our staff and department heads and all the folks that assisted them in terms of putting this together, because it does help us in terms of the budget. You know, it really sets us up for success.
Well, and I'll just say, I appreciate, and I know staff appreciates the board's engagement through this process. I know those were some long meetings, but making sure that they're headed in the right direction that the board wishes for them to go. It is our goal to try to accomplish your mission and vision and goals. So being able and giving the board and giving the staff time to present their goals to make sure that they're still going in the right direction is very helpful for them. So I appreciate the board doing that.
Yeah, and I want to thank all the commissioners for their time on the task forces, because it's a considerable amount of detail to go through. Okay. Next.
The next item is a request from Tax Administration for approval of December 2021 refunds and releases, and there are no commissioners' names on this list.
I keep waiting for somebody to pop up on the list. Okay.
Not yet.
Consent?
Consent.
The next item is a request from the clerk to the board for approval of minutes from December 21st, 2021 and January the 4th, 2022 meetings.
Any comments? Okay, consent?
Consent.
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 Thank you. And then the final item, this is the time in our agenda where we have task force updates, if any of the commissioners would like to report on any of their various task forces.
Okay, well, I would inquire. I'll just go right down the line here. Anything, Scotty?
Nothing update. The Partners Board was closed. We didn't have a meeting last month for Christmas. And then we're waiting on another meeting with the emergency services, I think, coming up here pretty soon. So we'll get on that. And then the ones that we went over a couple weeks ago and for this year, and everything was pretty much the same as last year. So all looked good.
Excellent. Education and our economic development.
Right, so as we know, the school is a little bit on delay with that high school plan. Still moving forward with the design phase. Kind of holding to see, it's in a holding pattern right now due to cost. So we'll see on that one. There'll be an update in a meeting coming up with that one in the near future. Economic development has been very busy. I'm excited to see that there's consistently having economic development share growth in the area. So I'm working with the school system in the future for some projects to find those employees that we so desperately need. So it's good.
And you said that the new school was still on schedule?
It's not, it's the design phase is still moving forward. The shovel to the ground, don't have a date for that. It's just, it's still shocking, the cost of building. So,
Came down, went right back up.
yeah.
All right, Gene, any task force update?
Did you cover any of the education?
Just a minimal saying that I shared that the design phase is still moving forward with the school, with the high school, but at the other point, there's not ready for a shovel in the ground yet.
Okay. And as far as Beth's working on and passed out some health issues that's pertaining to the schools and the health department, and we'll continue to get the factual information out as we can to, make sure everybody has all the factual information of what the health department and the schools are doing and why. That's really all we got.
I'll just say, relative to the sort of combination economic development, education piece that was alluded to by Vice Chairman Nieder, we have a group that is working together in an alliance, if you will, to work with several different stakeholders, Central Iowa Workforce Development Board, the Greater Statesville Chamber of Commerce, the Iredell County Economic Development Corporation, the Iredell County Economic Development Corporation Foundation, Mooresville Graded Schools, Mitchell Community College, Iredell Statesville Schools, all working together to fashion a program and a process by which we can address, together with industry, our workforce development needs, so that as companies are looking at Iredell County, we can understand what their requirements are going to be and focus our education process to deliver those qualities and the quantities necessary to continue to support our industry and attract new industry. So exciting effort, and it's building on a lot of things that have already been accomplished, but we're going to be looking for our industry to be able to step up and work consistently and in terms of identifying our goals and objectives, and then being there to help us achieve those goals and objectives together with our schools. So it's going to be a long-term effort, but it's going to produce long-term benefit for the county for generations. It's a generational effort. So I think that takes care of task force updates. One announcement for the Recreation Advisory Board, is that correct? Mm-hmm. And we do have one appointment to the Board of Health. And this is going to be a public comment period evening, and new business. We discussed, Commissioner Howe have some remarks. I'll have a few remarks And County Manager's report. Give us a preview.
Yes, two quick things. Again, just a reminder that property tax listing period is from now through January the 31st. So please make sure that you list all of your property with the tax office. That is actually a requirement through North Carolina General Statute. Also, with the winter weather that we just had, and apparently they're calling for more on Friday, just a reminder to everybody that January is National Preparedness Month. How appropriate. It is National Preparedness Month. And we do have a mechanism to notify the community regarding various events and things throughout our community, and that's our Hyper Reach program. So you can find out how to sign up for that. We do not call you unless you give us a number. So if you want to receive text messages or emails or calls regarding various things, emergency management utilizes that, and a lot of our utility companies, IREDELL, Statesville and utilities, Mooresville Utilities, the schools. I mean, a lot of people use those types of notification processes. We have one as well. So please make sure that you sign up for that Hyper Reach to be able to receive those calls.
What's the easiest way for citizens to sign up for that? Or not necessarily easiest, just what is the way?
You can, we have all the information on our website, but you can also call 980-829-0101. You can call that number, or you can text alert, the word alert, ALERT, to that number, and they'll prompts will text you back. You have to give your address and whatever contact number you want to be contacted at. So that's one way. You can also go online, and it's on our website, and you can actually do it from your computer if you choose to do it that way as well.
Thank you, Ms. Moe.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. And also, we have the Iredell County Parks and Recreation biennial report to hand out to the board as well tonight. So please make sure Ms. Anderson has that for you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move into a closed session for purposes of discussing economic development pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 subsection A4. So we will resume at the 7 o'clock hour with our public meeting. Thank you.